So, guys, you know what the situation is with this Bills offensive line going into camp. 4 of the 5 starters are locked in, no questions asked. But that left guard spot behind David Edwards is wide open right now, and it's not the only room like that. Same thing at defensive tackle, same thing at inside linebacker, same thing at corner, where a name Buffalo just spent a high pick on is already pushing a former first-rounder for his job. And I've been going through the depth chart room by room because there's a lot more happening here than people are talking about right now. So stick around. I'm going to break down exactly where these battles stand. Welcome to the channel. If you're new here, don't forget to hit that subscribe button. Let me know if this hits the mark or if you want it tightened further before I move on to the full script. Alright, let's start with the offensive line since that's what I opened with, because honestly, this is one of the more underrated storylines heading into camp. Dion Dawkins, Connor McGovern, Terrell Bernard. Wait, no, let me stay on the O-line here. You've got Dion Dawkins, Connor McGovern, Osiris Torrance, and Spencer Brown all penciled in to start, and that's not really up for debate. But losing David Edwards at left guard, that actually opens up a real competition, and it's between Alec Anderson and Austin Corbett. Now, here's the thing, guys. The tackle depth on this roster is not great right now. I'll just be honest about that. But the interior depth, that's actually pretty solid because you've got Lloyd Cushenberry sitting behind Connor McGovern as a legitimate backup center. So when I look at this guard battle, I'm not worried about it in a bad way. I actually think it's a good problem to have. Alec Anderson's been around, he knows the system, and Austin Corbett's played a ton of snaps in his career. So whoever wins that job, I think the Bills are covered either way. Now let's shift over to the defensive line because this is where it gets interesting for me. Buffalo's running more of a 3-4 look this year, so it's big bodies, hand in the dirt, that kind of thing. Ed Oliver's obviously your guy up front as that 3-technique, pass-rushing type presence, no argument there. And then you've got Deone Walker at nose tackle. And man, if you've seen this guy in person, he is an absolute mountain of a human being. I fully expect him to take a leap in year 2 and become a full-time starter. But the real battle, the one I keep coming back to, is at that defensive tackle spot between TJ Sanders and Landon Jackson. Both of these guys came in last year around the same range, Jackson in round 3, Sanders in round 2, and Buffalo actually traded up to get Sanders, so there was already investment there. But here's what's caught my eye. Landon Jackson looks like a completely different human being physically heading into this season, like a real body transformation. And that matters because this defense is leaning more into that downhill run-stopping identity now, which is exactly what he did back at Arkansas. So I'm genuinely excited to see how that battle plays out in camp because I don't think it's as settled as people assume. Moving to linebacker, and look, this room got a real facelift this offseason. Bringing in Bradley Chubb back healthy, plus drafting TJ Parker early in round 2, that's a legit upgrade on the outside. But the inside linebacker spot, that's where I've got questions. Dorian Williams is dealing with an injury right now, and that's opened the door for Cole Ashmore, the rookie out of TCU, to get a ton of run with the ones. And honestly, the flashes I've seen from him, athletically, both in coverage and as a downhill hitter, they're real. You go back and watch his tape at TCU, the production speaks for itself. But I'll say this too, Dorian Williams wasn't even the guy who took over when Matt Milano went down last year. That job actually went to Shaq Thompson, so I'm not totally sold on him just walking back into the starting role automatically. And then you've got Balen Spector, who's been in this system for a while now, grinded it out on special teams, and I think he's earned a real shot at defensive reps this year. So that's a 3-way scrap right there, and I think it's one of the more slept-on battles on this entire roster. Now let's talk corner, because this one might be my favorite storyline of the whole offseason. Christian Benford, Taron Bailey, let me get this right. Christian Benford and Maxwell Hairston are your presumed starters right now, but Buffalo went out and drafted Dorian Strong, and from everything I've seen and heard, this kid brings an edge, a competitiveness to that defense that's undeniable. And look, I've got to be honest, Maxwell Hairston had some rough moments in minicamp, got beat clean by Keon Coleman in one rep that everybody noticed. And when you combine that with the injury history that limited some of his top-end speed, the same speed that got him drafted in the first round in the first place, it does raise a little bit of a flag for me. Now, his actual numbers weren't bad last year, so I'm not writing him off. I still lean toward him holding that job. But this is a genuine competition, and I don't think Buffalo drafted this kid in round 2 just to sit him on the bench and watch. Let's pivot to safety for a second because I actually feel really good about this room. C.J. Gardner-Johnson and Cole Bishop, those are your guys. And honestly, I don't even care about labeling one free safety and one strong safety anymore. That terminology barely matters in today's NFL. Everybody plays high, everybody rotates down into the box, and both these guys can do it all. Gardner Johnson can play that nickel-ish role, Bishop can come downhill and stuff the run, and I love the versatility there. Behind them, you've got depth building too, and while it's not really a camp battle in the traditional sense, I think this room quietly might be one of the most talented on the entire defense. Now let's go back to offense for a second, because I want to touch on running back in this fullback situation, which honestly doesn't get talked about enough. James Cook, Ty Johnson, Ray Davis, that's your running back room, pretty much set. But the real battle, and I mean the one nobody's really covering, is at fullback between Ben Wenzelberger and Jackson Meeks. Actually, let me correct that. It's Jackson Meeks' name coming up separately. The fullback battle is between Ben Wenzelberger and an undrafted rookie out of Wisconsin. And look, there's no guarantee either one of these guys even makes the final roster. That's just real talk. But Buffalo likes running heavy personnel. They like having a lead blocker in certain packages. So whoever wins that job could end up carving out a real role in specific situational football. It's a small battle in the grand scheme, but it's one of those depth chart stories that quietly matters once the season starts. And then wide receiver, man, this is a room I keep going back and forth on. DJ Moore, Josh Palmer, Khalil Shakir, those are your presumed starters walking into camp. But when I really look at it, I'm not fully convinced Josh Palmer is a lock to hold that outside spot opposite DJ Moore. What did he actually show last year outside of dealing with injuries? And look, Buffalo's paid receivers big money before and still benched them when the production wasn't there. So I don't think a contract guarantees anybody snaps. That's why I keep circling back to Keon Coleman and Skylar Bell as real threats to push their way into that rotation, maybe even into a starting role by mid-season. I think this receiver room has more internal competition than people realize right now. Quick note on tight end, too, because that room is about as settled as it gets. Dalton Kincaid, Dawson Knox, and Jackson Hayes, those three are locked in, and honestly, I don't see anybody threatening that trio. Kincaid's one of the more efficient tight ends in this league when healthy. Knox, he's as reliable a safety valve as Josh Allen has, and Hayes might be one of the better blocking tight ends in all of football right now. That's a strength for this offense, full stop. So when I step back and look at this whole roster, that's really what I wanted to lay out for you today, guys. This isn't a team full of obvious answers at every spot. You've got real battles at guard, at defensive tackle, inside linebacker, at corner, even down at fullback. And I think how these shake out in camp is going to tell us a lot about who this Buffalo Bills team actually is heading into the regular season. So let me know down in the comments, which one of these battles are you watching the closest? Is it the corner spot? Is it that inside linebacker competition? Let me know what you think, and I'll catch you guys in the next one.